People watch a lot of movies that show a lot of stuff that is absolutely absurd when it comes to prison. There's no Tango and Cash. There's no, Sylvester Stallone and whoever was in that. That's not prison. Penitentiary 6, The Dark Side or whatever those.
Locked Up Raw.
Exactly. That has nothing to do with prison whatsoever. Even the documentaries kind of go for the sensationalized stuff. Yeah, I don't really fit the mold of what people expect of an ex-felon. They look for a big, huge, burly, tattooed back, with the, certain clothes and stuff, and I don't really fit that mold. So it was an easier transition than it might have been for other guys to get to that point where I'm just John Q. Public again, I think anyway.
So it's Sunday, November 12th.
Correct.
And we are recording an episode of Life on the Outside. It's a podcast about people returning home from prison and sharing what that reentry process has been like.
One of the guys at one of the groups I went to, he doesn't even like the term ex-lifer. He likes returning citizen is the words that he uses.
Hey.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Returning citizen. Damn, we should rename this. What term do you like? I don't know if like's the right word, but what would you identify as and feel comfortable with?
Returning citizen is fine. Former inmate is okay, but because of where I'm at. But I don't really like it. But ex-felon, that has the bad connotations.
What about ex-lifer?
Ex-lifer's fine. Yeah, those are good. But what we were talking about before, I just John Q. Public is good with me. Generic and vanilla as you can possibly come up with. My name is Eric Lauterbach. I am a former life-term inmate who's been out on parole for almost 2 years.
What year did you go in?
October 5th, 1979. Got out on January 6th, 2016. I went to the board for my 18th time, and I'll just say that I went to the board for my 18th time in September of 2016. And finally, I was granted parole and found suitable. I couldn't believe it. On the walk back to the housing unit, I was shaken. In October, the following month, I saw a representative from the Parole Services Associate was her title. She ended our conversation with, "If you see me or one of my colleagues, it's good news. If you get called to the office and see your counselor, it's probably bad news." I had never gotten a date before, and I've seen a whole lot of people over the years, all 36 of them, that had gotten dates and gotten them taken away. I didn't hear from her again at all. I didn't hear from anyone until January 4th, 2017, when I'm at work and my boss gets a call from the office, the program office on the yard, and says, "We need to see this guy in the office." And she relays the message to me, and I told her, I don't want to go, because I've been told that if I go to the office, it's bad news. And she looks at me like, "You got to go." I said, I really don't want to. So I did anyway. And I see my correctional counselor, and he has my parole papers in his hand. But he basically throws them at me and says, "Here, sign here, here, and here." Wouldn't tell me where I was paroling to. Wouldn't say anything, basically. The answer only I got was, "You'll find out everything Wednesday morning." I get back to the building, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because we're talking, what is that, let's say 40 hours from that time right then, I will be leaving the institution on my own for the first time in a very, very long time. I'm shaken. I just, it's incomprehensible to me. January 5th is a good day because it's my birthday. I got all my stuff packed. I got out my gray sweatpants and my long sleeve white t-shirt and my white tennis shoes, because that's all we can have in prison. And I got them ready to go to R&R the next morning. I didn't sleep much that night. So I get to the gate with my brown mesh bag, which is all I have left of stuff. The officer comes, he's really nice. He takes me to R&R, put me in a tank by myself, and I sit there and wait until the sergeant gets here and we'll process you out. And I'm like, cool, okay. I'm still shaking. I really am. So they call me over and make sure it's me because they don't want to parole the wrong guy. And then they hand me this card. And the guy says, here's your parole money. We get $200 gate money, which had not changed the entire 36 plus years I was in prison. It was $200 when I went in and still $200 when I left. Never seen one of these kind of cards before. Debit card was a rare, not rare, but understood concept to me. Anyway, he gives me this card and says, here's your gate money. And I asked him where I was going. And he says, you're paroling to Los Angeles. Literally, when I got here, knew absolutely nobody. Not a soul. I don't have any family, so to speak, anyway, but there was no friends, and I'd never even been to L.A., so I sit there, and the sergeant comes in and says, okay, you guys are ready to go, and there's me in one tank and this other guy in another, and we get in the van. And it's a kid, I don't know, he's got to be 20-something. All he could do is just jabber away about, gotta have a pack of cigarettes. And I'm just like, sitting in the back of this van, not knowing where I'm going or what I'm doing, except they're going to drop us off at the Greyhound bus station.
Did you have a moment to, when you stepped out into the parking lot, to, take a deep breath and be like, oh my God? Or was it just a whirlwind of, I gotta get on this bus, I gotta find my way to...
I didn't feel like a citizen again yet, no, because like I say, I'm wearing prison clothes. If I'd have been able to blend a little better, I might have. But no, it was just too much of the newness and the lack of familiarity after so many years of the real world. There wasn't that moment that kind of smacked you like, oh my God, I can smell fresh air again. Freedom and all that good stuff. Not yet anyway. That took a few days. Or the next day anyway. And the bus station there is a double-wide trailer. It's not much of a bus station. And I walked up to the counter and I said, I need a ticket to Los Angeles. So she gets me a ticket and I wait for the bus, just looking around. There's not a lot there. There was the liquor store where the kid immediately dashed to. I just waited for the bus because, I'm a fish out of water, so, yeah. When I went in, there was only 12 prisons. When I left, there was, I don't know how many there are. There's probably 40 if you count the level 1 private facilities and all that kind of stuff. And the population, therefore, was a lot smaller. I think there was a little less than 30,000 inmates when I went in, and when I left, there was 120,000. So yeah, it's a whole different world. The Greyhound bus station at Los Angeles, however, was a zoo. My debit card does not have change, so I couldn't put any quarters in the phone to call anyone. I went to the snack bar and I asked the woman if she could charge me a little more. I know there was a communication breakdown because she didn't understand what I was telling her. So here I am. I can't make a call because I don't know. I've never seen a cell phone before. I actually went out front, and as soon as I walked out the door, somebody yelled at me, "Hey, convict, what's up?" So I walked back inside. Anyway, I finally find somebody at the information desk, and I explained my situation about the snack bar, and he kind of laughs, and he goes, "Do you need to make a call?" I said, "Yeah, I do." So he puts his cell phone on the counter. He says, "Go ahead, it's okay." And I looked at him, and I said, "You know what? I appreciate the offer, but you're going to have to make the call for me, because I don't know how." And his only response was, "How long?" Which was kind of cool, actually. It wasn't like, "Oh my God, what's this guy about?" It was just, "How long?" is all he said. If you don't know, people make snap judgments all the time. You're a convicted felon. I could have been in the county jail for, 10 minutes. But you automatically gain that. I get that a lot. I'm the only white guy on the bus most of the time, for crying out loud. I get looked at crazy all the time. So not necessarily the ex-felon thing. It's just, that's a biggest part of the adjustment I've had since I've been out, though. It's a whole different world. My God. Got up the next morning and had my first breakfast on the outside.
Was waking up
weird?
Did it? Yeah.
Yeah. There's no standing in a line. They got a little machine that has cereal in it, and you can get a bowl of cereal. And there's a dispenser for milk, and there's no trays. There's actual plates. You can have your own silverware that's metal as opposed to a plastic spork. Amity Foundation is a 6-month residential treatment facility for long-term incarcerated felons. It provides a structured setting of groups that are geared towards re-assimilating long-term offenders back into society. Guys come and go and talk about their day just like a normal person would. Like, I'm going to drive out here, or I got to go see this person, and stuff like you hear, just normal conversation. And you run into people that you knew from all those years in prison, and I ran into several of those. That next day, where the Amity Foundation is right across the street, basically, from Expo Park. So a couple of guys that I knew and a couple other guys that they knew said, "You're coming with us today." And about, half an hour later, we were at the Exposition Park Museum, the Science Center. And I'm still dressed in my sweatpants and long sleeve white t-shirt, but I didn't care because, and that was fantastic. To go from the complete unknown of prison to standing under the space shuttle in a span of about 24 hours was just amazing.
What was that feeling?
Well, I would think for a person that, just a regular citizen for all those years, it'd be an awe-inspiring experience. But for me, it was like, wow, it was crazy wow. Just to walk around amongst people was crazy wow.
Did you feel uncomfortable at all?
Very, very much. I thought, you think everybody's looking at you. You have that perceptual awareness in prison that it's tough to let go of. You need to, I should say, know what's going on the yard at all times. So I'm helping out at Amity one day, and Stephanie, she's the employment liaison kind of person that helps out the guys at Amity. She gets a call saying, "Hey, I need somebody. Do you know anybody?" And it's Sister Mary Shawn working at Prep. And you're just going to put the date in the part 1 of 8. Her program is geared specifically towards helping incarcerated individuals both pre and post incarceration. They may look at the lesson and say, "I can't do this," or "I don't want to." There's a lot of guys inside that they don't have a connection to anyone on the streets. I was one of those guys. You don't get any mail. Sister Mary will put a letter in, or a note or something. Some of the guys will too, that says, "Good job." And it feels good when you're inside. So that's the kind of stuff we do here.
Did you know what kind of work you wanted to do when you got out?
No. I've been a clerk in prison for most of the 36 years I was in, so something along those lines. I'm an old guy, so I'm not going to do construction and that kind of stuff. I was able to get a college degree in prison and a whole lot of computer training. I mean, I couldn't tell you what a cell phone does, but I could take a computer apart and put it back together for you. There's no way I could have thought that from April, I wouldn't go home until 2016, from April to 1980. No way I was thinking about that kind of thing.
What was your sentence?
I had second-degree murder, 15 to life. As a life-term inmate, we have to go to the board. I didn't have a date that said 10 years. I had a hearing date that said 10 years. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go to this hearing. They're going to say, "Wow, you're such a great guy. We're going to let you out." Yeah, that didn't happen. The law had recently changed the structure of the sentencing for life-term inmates, for murder anyway. It brought back the death penalty, which had been abolished in 74, I think it was. And it changed the sentence for first-degree murder from life to 25 to life. And from second-degree murder from 5 to life to 15 to life. When I got sentenced, the judge said, "Oh yeah, by the way, you'll probably do 10 years. Because the logic and the thinking back then was everybody would do 2/3 of their sentence, whether you're a life-termer or not. So I do 10 years, which is 2/3 of 15. Turns out it didn't work that way, but, politics and things changed. I don't think it really hit me for the first few months in prison either. I mean, it's a whole different world, but It's this small little yard that you're on, and you learn to fit into the groove and where you fit in. In August, like I said, it was April when I got to the institution in August, there was a killing on one of the other yards. A guy got beat to death with a baseball bat because they could still play hardball baseball back then. Some argument broke out at a baseball game, and the guy got literally beat to death with a baseball bat. And it caused the institution to have a lot of changes. And as a clerk, I had to do a lot of those changes. And the whole time I'm doing it, it's like, oh my God. And that kind of hit me too. It's like, wow, this is real. This is something completely different. This is a whole nother kind of world.
But you're saying that's when prison really
set in, yeah. Like, oh my God, this is, yeah.
How comfortable do you feel talking about your crime?
I have to go to groups as a commitment or as a obligation for the housing I go to. And I made the statement the other day that one of the things that I really like to do is just put it away. I'm done. I don't want to go back and say, blah, 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 all over again, over and over and over again. I just want to be that guy that is, I had this block of time that I had to do because I did something very, very bad. And that block of time is over. There's some guys that I've met that they might as well still be in prison. That mentality is sunk so deep in. And that's what I really don't want to be around. I don't want to be anybody's homie anymore. I don't want to rehash the old days when, we kicked it here, we talked about this. You remember that riot back in '82? And I don't want to do that. I want to put it away. So it's not that I don't want to talk about a commitment offense and the crime that I committed, but it's done.
I mean, can you really just put it behind you like that?
One of the guys that I knew from high school is a member of a cover band. He's a singer and a guitar player, and they had a concert down in San Diego. And I went, and it was fantastic. On the level of music and the atmosphere and everything was fantastic, but I stood next to a guy. I was standing in the back, and we took a picture of all the class of '79. I'm standing next to a guy after the picture, and I'm listening to the music because they've started up again. And the guy finally leans over and he says, "Hey, aren't you Eric?" And I said, "Yeah." I didn't recognize the guy. And what really made it huge is that I used to play, he and I were on the basketball team together. I didn't recognize him, We talked for, 20 minutes maybe, just talked. And he finally got to the point where, "Didn't you go to prison for a while?" I said, "Yeah." So we went outside and talked some more. But he's the only one that said anything. The rest of them that I talked to, and there were a significant number of people in my class, maybe 50 even. The rest of them were like, "Hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. What do you do?" When you commit a violent act at such a young age, they like to come up with a reason. And a lot of my half, let's say, of the 36 years, maybe 15 of it, was they're trying to figure out just why exactly I did what I had done. The family dynamic that I grew up in, there wasn't a lot of conversation. One of the examples I use a lot of times is the old elephant in the room. There could be one, and nobody in my family would even mention that it was there. Just nothing at all. A void. My ability to communicate is a big part of why that process took so long for me to, say some of the stuff that led me to that path to prison and committing a murder. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the person that was the young kid that committed the crime. And I don't want to be the person that was the young kid that grew up into a man that did 36 years in prison. I want to be somebody else. I want to be that third party that can survive and function in all that society.
Where do you hope to be in 5 or 10 years? What would ideally, what would your life look like?
I don't need much. A place that I can call my home, whether it's a one-room efficiency or a house. It'd be nice to have a circle of friends that, you can call and say, "Hey, what's up?" Working at something that keeps me busy and enough to support whatever lifestyle that that I have. I don't need much, just enough to get along and stay out. I was doing the same thing that the guys were doing for me. When I first got out, I was taking a couple of new guys. And we're up on the second floor of the Science Center. And this girl, she's probably, 8 or 9 years old. She comes running up to me, and she's got a $5 bill in her hand. And she says, "Hey, mister, do you have change for a 5? And I looked in my wallet, and I said, "Yes, I do, actually." So I gave her 4 ones and 4, I said, 4 quarters. She goes, yeah. And that was cool, because, like I said, I didn't have anything. I looked like a normal person. I like to hope I was acting like a normal person. So I gave her the change, and she gave me the 5. And she goes scampering off, and I'm continuing walking, and she wanted the money for a ride that they have at the expo center. But as I'm walking by, I see her in line, and her mom kind of mouths the word "thank you," and that was just, that crystallized the whole moment. It's like I am no longer a convicted felon or an ex-felon or a parolee or whatever. I'm just like, that guy on the street again. I like to think it didn't take long. Even that day, I was like, by the end of that day, because we went through all the museums and the Science Center and all that kind of stuff, it was like, wow, this is cool, and nobody said a thing, and nobody knows a thing, and I'm out on the streets, damn it, and I kind of like it.